We happy? Vincent? We happy?
Yeah, we happy.
Yeah, we happy. But that wasn't originally the case. So originally, I ordered one of these to replace one of these, but I misordered it and actually ordered one of these. And my first thought was, what am I going to do with a box that's too big? Then I thought about some upcoming car camping trips, and I had an idea. So I started out initially with the cardboard template, and used it to find all of my slots, overall sizes, just trimmed it to fit until I got a pretty good fit. And the next step was to take that, turn it into a file in Inkscape, and cut it out on some 1/4-inch plywood. And my initial 1/4-inch plywood foray was on a sheet this size, covered with shaper tape. So a lot of material and a lot of tape wasted there. After that, I took some notes directly on my first try, and one of the first things I noticed was that this extra area that's in the cardboard template that was in my Inkscape template or Inkscape file conflicted with parts of the inside of the box, and it was not going to work. So all of that, I just took a jigsaw, just hacked it off, and I had some larger gaps and stuff that I did not like. So I went ahead, modified the print, and did a second revision. And I was able to do that with a blank. So instead of using a large piece of plywood, I came up with a piece that was 495 millimeters by 260 millimeters. And that's my overall size. So I'm just removing material from that, and all of those notches are just notches on the edges. So from that larger piece, that second try, put it in, everything fit nice. I wanted to make sure that my file was validated, that all of these holes are in the right spot. The large Systainers have an awful lot of places to put mounting holes. I wanted to make sure they were all in the print so that you could choose them, whichever ones you needed to use, to make sure they didn't conflict with anything in your design. So did that. Everything seemed to work out pretty well, but couldn't stand it. I had to modify it, and instead of notching out those corners, I went ahead and altered the file so that everything is right up tight and the corners are filled in. So that was my, this cutout right here is exactly from the final file, the SVG that I have. It's a tight fit. So after anchoring my 1/4-inch plywood blank, the next challenge was to apply the shaper tape. Without a jig or a large apron area around the blank, the machine has to face inward from the perimeter, and the tape has to be visible from those angles. The plywood is only 6 millimeters thick, so I used the engraving bit flipped over as my probe for setting the grid. This is the first project I've cut with the new Inverness update, and so I've just been getting used to the new zoom and anchoring features, and I've got to say I like them a lot. Being able to use exact coordinates for anchoring is great. I set this file right at the 00 point of the blank. At this point, I take a little bit of time to make sure that I can tell from the indicator in the upper right of the screen how well the shaper tape is being viewed by the machine, and kind of figure out my strategy for how I'm going to drive around this to do all the cutting. If you don't have a 1/16 of an inch mill bit, I experimented here to see if it was possible to mark out the notch locations with the engraving bit and then come back and do them later with a jigsaw. I prefer the 1/16 of an inch bit. They're pretty cheap. I can run down to the hardware store and find them. The downside is that they are exactly 1/4 of an inch long, so sometimes that puts a little bit of a round over at the top of my cut. For this project, that wasn't an issue. For the most part, I left the sides and the bottom edges of the blank alone and only ran the router around the parts where it kind of made a difference. Everything else was a nice straight clean cut, so there was no need to redundantly run the router around it. Watching the shaper do the helix hula never gets old. So here I'm just cutting the slots with the jigsaw that I made the marks for with the engraving bit. On the other side of the insert, I just used the 1/16 of an inch straight bit. So the final finished product is a cutlery insert for all of this silverware and whatnot for camping. And I just put 2mm slots in there, figured out the spacing, and ran a strip of 1-inch elastic and attached it to the back. And that's all it was. You can modify that SVG file to accommodate whatever it is you need to hold. And that's it.